Gen Z's addiction to locking in. Check her out.
It's my year. I'm gonna delete TikTok, wake up at 6 a.m., start a dropshipping store, do some push-ups, and finally get my shit together. This year is my year. I swear I'm gonna delete TikTok, wake up at 5 o'clock every.
This just started 20 seconds too early.
This year is my year. I'm gonna delete Instagram and focus on my goals. And what's that? This year is my year. I'm gonna delete TikTok, wake up at 6 a.m., start a dropshipping store, do some push-ups, and finally get my shit together. This year is my year. I swear I'm gonna delete TikTok, wake up at 5 o'clock every.
I feel like everybody has this where they go like, New Year's resolutions where you go and you make this fucking grandiose thing. New Year's resolutions. But I think a reason that a lot of people do this cycle of like, oh, this is my year, bro, and then they don't do it is because you set up like monumental goals to try and overcome in like a year. Like, bro, you're not going to become a fucking millionaire in a year. How about you just fucking make your goal to get a raise or something? A job that pays a little bit better.
Every single morning.
Just like take it
Meditate,
slow.
journal, manifest my dreams, dump everything into an NFT, get rich in crypto, and then I'm gonna find. Okay, this year is my year. Waking up at 4 a.m., going on a dopamine detox. I read Atomic Habits, taking cold showers, listen to a few Huberman podcasts, so now I know I'm ready for. This year is 3 a.m. up, 5 side hustles, red light sauna. I still gotta delete TikTok. This is my winter arc. This year, I swear I'm actually locked. This year, wake up at midnight.
Dude, remember when TikTok was just like people used to get bullied for using TikTok? Remember that? Remember when TikTok was the new Musical.ly? Yeah, it's not anymore.
Straight into an icy lake, starting my personal brand, 10-mile run backwards, push-pull legs Arnold split, deleting my entire phone, no friends, no distractions, 4 years of monk mode. I will locking in. A term that mainly Gen Z has been making popular recently, which can be summed up as just getting serious, to lock your attention onto a single thing. And that thing can be less serious stuff, like playing a video game or trying not to laugh at something serious. But I want to lock in, focus, get it, never mind, on the more serious side. That when someone says they're going to lock in, it means to really get your shit together and focus on whatever thing you want to achieve, which is typically a big goal that we have for ourselves. Usually referring to things like going to the gym or studying or something related to money, whatever. And on its own, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this at all. Locking in is necessary for doing anything worthwhile.
Yeah, I think locking in is good. I think if you have to like fucking get real about some shit and you can't do that, you got to get that together, brother. I think locking in is good. The ability to just get some shit done when you really need to. But I also think it goes too far. Like if you try and lock in with everything you're doing, like you got to derive some entertainment or like enjoyment out of life for yourself. Because if everything that you're doing is goal based and just I have to do this by X, I have to reach this by Y, then like nothing is gonna stay fun. Unless I mean it's different for everybody.
But
There's
the
some
problem with
people who
locking
like
in
that.
is that it's only useful if you actually do it. But barely anyone does. We've all had that 2 a.m. motivation when we wake up and just start pacing in our rooms. When we saw a video of someone our age.
Dude, literally, there's so many times where you'll just see I'll be seeing TikToks and it's like talking about like you got to get your money up, you got to do all these things. And I get amped up. I'm like, "You know what, man? I'm going to change my life tonight." And then you're up till 4 in the morning and late for work because you fucking stayed up.
Making $150,000 a month, and to buy their parents a new house with a Rolls Royce. So we start planning on becoming a millionaire in 6 months. We start researching and watching videos. Maybe go do a couple of push-ups and squats. We delete TikTok and Instagram from our phones. Maybe even pull out a journal and write down some plans about something. And we swear we're gonna go to the gym tomorrow. And then we go to bed, wake up, re-download TikTok the next day, and just repeat the cycle over and over and over again. And like it sounds kind of funny because we all kind of been through it, but
yeah,
in all seriousness, it's insanity.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. It is genuinely a problem.
Demoralizing. It gets beyond frustrating when time keeps passing.
Because like you got to really think about it. If you're on your phone to a point where you're like, hey, I think I need to delete this app off my phone, and then you delete it, and then you are back on it within 2 days. Like it is an addiction. Like TikTok and the dopamine like desensitization that people are talking about, that shit is real. If you can't sit down and just watch a movie for an hour anymore, like, brother, we got some fucking fish to fry. You got to get that shit in line.
But for some reason, we're not where we want to be in our lives. When we're not even on the path. When you haven't locked in like you swore you were going to do, and now it's 2025, and you're in the same spot you have been for over half a decade. When it's your literal 40th attempt saying you're going to do something, and you don't even believe or trust yourself anymore. Like, it's not even sadness or anger, it's just numbness. But why exactly does that happen? Like, why is it so difficult to do the things we swore we want to do, yet it's so easy to do the things that we know won't help us long term? And it's not even like we don't want these things or don't even know how to get them. Because if you have an internet connection, which you have to be for watching this video, you can easily figure out exactly how to get exactly what you want out of life. Hundreds of millions of people have that ability, but then why can't people do it? Why can't people focus? Why can't people stick with something longer than 75 days? Why will 90% of people live the same year over and over and over again? Why can't Gen Z seem to lock in? Well, first of all, it's not just Gen Z who can't lock in, but almost every human for all time. Because focusing on long-term goals outside of survival inherently goes against human nature and the way our minds work. But more on that in a second. And second off, why exactly is locking in so important? Because if you research
Okay. I know that like it's kind of a meme when people say like, I don't know, dude, my brain was made to eat berries in a cave. Like that's real. You know what I mean? It is hard to do so much of the shit that is like called upon you as an adult cuz like really though, we weren't meant for all this. Cuz we come from the same shit. Like we come from the same materials that the cat that is scratching my chair is made out of. Um, and like try asking a cat about like, hey, do you know what a bureaucracy is? Yeah, do you know what tax bracket you're in, Bean? You know, like it's just
different people who've done anything
it's so
worthwhile in
much.
any domain. They all got there doing different things during different times, but the one common denominator between all of them is intense focus over a long period of time on one thing, which is definitionally, I don't know if that's an actual word, locking in. If you want to become world champion, you need to lock in. If you want to revolutionize personal computers, you need to lock in. If you want to lead the civil rights movement, you need to lock in. If you want to make legendary films, you need to lock in. Even if you don't want to change the world, but you just want to have a
Yeah.
family, provide for them, be in shape, and live a simple life, you still need
Lock the
to
fuck
lock
in.
in. Because we
Yep.
all have a certain amount of energy and time. And if we spread out this energy evenly amongst 1,000 different seeds, the most impressive thing you'll ever grow is 1,000 blades of grass. But if you're actually able to put your energy onto one thing, sure, you might not have 1,000 blades of grass, but the one thing you will have is an oak tree. And this idea of locking in is so ingrained in us that it's been seen throughout several stories and myths throughout history. Like, for example, the Buddha. He lived his life of luxury and comfort so he could sit under a tree and fully focus on finding enlightenment. And monks are basically
Yo, this guy is sitting. We're getting into Buddhism on. This is a great video. I am subbing to this guy. That's great.
the definition of being locked in. They remove all distractions and everything that brings temporary, mindless pleasures so they can focus on finding peace. This is also why we have the term monk mode, which is just another version of locking in. Even a lot of philosophers talk about removing distractions and focusing on what's actually important in their lives, and how chasing temporary, mindless pleasures gets you nowhere long term. Because even eons ago, they understood that having your energy spread all over the place doesn't get you anywhere and leads to an empty life. And also, in almost every single story with a hero's journey, they have to lock in and focus relentlessly on changing into a better person or overcoming a huge obstacle. Even in a lot of shows or movies or entertainment, if you think about it, a lot of the time, a lot of people's favorite or most memorable parts is when a character gets serious, when they're
Yeah, I think it's because there's a lot of relatability to it. Like when a character fucking locks in and it's like you kind of feel that tension, that imaginary tension snapping. Like we've all been in that situation where like, okay, oh, we're really fucking doing this. I think that makes impactful ass moments because we do that.
eyes change, and you can tell that they don't care about anything else other than the goal, especially in sports when an athlete is in the zone or they have
Yep.
tunnel vision and they just even if you look at different biographies of people in the not too distant past or motivational speakers or people who are alive today, they all mention the focus, the grind, the locking in, how they went through periods of relentless focus and they removed distractions so they could really get shit done. And how even during those moments, even though they weren't all sunshine and rainbows, they look back at those moments in admiration because it molded them into becoming a better human being. And I think locking in is something that we all subconsciously strive towards because we all know that it's the closest answer we have to the big question, how to be happy. Because
Well, and I think a lot of it really fucking. I know I'm gonna sound like them old heads, but a lot of it is that damn phone. You know, like because having the ability to lock in and focus on something and over an X amount of time work at it every day, and then at the end of it, there's that feeling of I did it. I'm done. I did it. That is that delayed gratification that makes for like real healthy skill building and progress in a care in you. But the phone, like that instant gratification, the opposite scale of like you're gonna be watching just pure raw dopamine, and if you get bored for even a second, scroll and you've got the next thing. Boom, bang, next thing. And that it's addictive because like it is literally releasing the chemicals in your brain to tell you that like this is good, keep doing this. But your conscience and your brain chemicals aren't the same thing. So consciously you're saying, oh my god, I need to go put a load of laundry in, but you're sitting there and like, bruh, next video. I don't know.
if you've ever actually been locked in, or you've gotten into a flow state, or
Like you should detox your brain from dopamine if you can't lock in.
just have gotten lost in the progression of an activity, you know that it's one of the best feelings that you can experience. Not buying something, not doom scrolling, not giving into instant gratification and pleasures, but the climb itself towards a worthy goal
Yes.
that we decide on, even if it's hard and challenges us. Basically, locking in isn't even a new concept, but if we all know it's important, not just important, but necessary, and it's been around for eons. And today we have more tools and information to mold ourselves into whoever we want to become, then why doesn't it work? Like, obviously it does work, folks will never hurt you, but then why do 95% of people never actually get the results they want to? Why can't we lock in? Okay, well, there's 4 big reasons why locking in doesn't work for most people. For one, most people have no why. Most people don't even start with a reason, the purpose of why they're deciding to lock in. They say they want to change, but don't even know why. Like, why go to the gym? Why start a business? Why study? Why make money? Why wake up at 4 a.m.? Those things are not bad to do at all. But if you don't have a damn good reason on why you're doing them, you will not do them by yourself long term. Because we all have this thing called a brain, and your brain is going to control your automatic baseline behaviors. And your brain is brilliant, but it's also lazy. Not because it's trying to be lazy, it's just because it's trying to be efficient. And your brain doesn't care about anything except surviving long enough to reproduce. Everything else it will put in as little effort as possible. And your brain will always automatically focus on 2 things: needs and wants. Needs are different things like breathing, food, water, shelter, safety, like stuff like that. Your brain will literally fight to the death to meet these things. Like, literally, it will put
That's
your
more
life at risk
instinctual.
and put you in danger until those needs are
Like
covered.
hunger
This is why I usually
pangs
see people
will
doing
drive
extreme
you to
things during
insanity
life or
because
death
you're just
situations,
listening to your
because
brain.
your brain is no longer messing around. This thing needs to get done. And then there are wants, things that don't need to happen, but your brain still wants them. I like to think about these things as pleasures, dopamine, and comfort. But because it's efficient, it's always going to go towards the lowest hanging wants first. Pleasures that are the easiest and fastest to get. So unless you actively try to fight it via awareness or willpower or discipline, whatever, your brain is just going to do whatever it can to keep you alive and then chase short-term pleasures until you die. Just try it for a day. Just let your brain make all the automatic decisions. You're probably going to do nothing the entire day except just sit there and survive and just give into instant gratification activities and just be lazy. Anyways, the reason it's so hard to focus on boring things, especially long term, is because our brain is fighting us the entire time because it doesn't understand why we're trying to force it to do something it doesn't need to do, because it doesn't care about your goals. The things we want to achieve are not needs. And if it's not a need, your brain will default to going towards easier wants. Like, you don't need to get in shape. You want to. You don't need to start a business. You want to. You don't need to do a lot of things because the world can handle all of that for you. And the stuff you want out of life will make you feel good eventually. But the path to getting there is long and boring, uncomfortable, and risky. And your brain hates those things, especially.
I don't know, dude, because like there's motherfuckers who, let's say, like they go to the doctor and someone says like you need to lose this much weight. There's cases where they won't. Like you know that you need to. I think the addiction to dopamine or these short wins, like it can overcome that part of your brain that's telling you to do what you need. Like the pleasures, whether it's food, drugs, whatever, I don't know, whatever the fuck. It's it can overcome, I think, like your instincts for sure.
when it can feel good instantly all the time. So unless it's truly important to you and your brain, you will inevitably fold. Think back to whenever you're working on anything. Automatically, probably several times, your brain will ask you, why? And if you don't have a good answer to that question, your brain will just slowly turn off. But then imagine those times whenever you had a good why for something. It feels like you have almost this unlimited restless energy. Like, have you ever had a day in which you had something huge planned for the next day and you were able to wake up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning with almost zero effort? Almost like your brain automatically woke you up. It's because you were actually excited to get up because you had a strong reason why to get up. Versus the days whenever you hype yourself up with some empty promises, you don't plan anything, you don't have a why, you just saw someone else doing it, and now that 5 o'clock alarm goes off, and there's gonna be a 90% chance you're gonna hit snooze and go right back to bed. And
Yep,
it is kind of
I'm
corny,
sleep.
but it's that quote where it's like, any why can be any how. Because if you have a strong enough why, you will do it. And the reason why can be good or bad. If someone put a gun to your head, is one of those things we've heard our entire lives. And it shows us that we will do crazy shit we don't want to do if you have a good reason behind it, even if it's negative. Same with if someone gave you $1 billion, shows the crazy shit we will do trying to chase a huge reward. But most people usually have neither of those. They're just floating around in the middle. They don't have a pain they're running from or a huge reward to chase. So a big reason people can't lock in or focus on something long term is because they don't even have a good, strong reason why behind it. Like, it needs to be something bigger than, I want to get rich or I want a six pack. But like, why?
But why though?
And why that? If someone says they want a six pack but don't really have a good reason why, then there's a 90% chance they just won't do it. But then if someone says they want a six pack because they were bullied their entire lives and they want to prove to themselves that they can do it, that's a much stronger why that will push them to do things that they don't want to do, even when they don't want to do it. For most people, the goal disappears for themselves as soon as they put their
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I actually agree with that 100% because if you are just I mean, like there's been times where if you that's why like journaling is so big because if you can actually get a real conscious idea of why you want to do something down, oh my god, way better.
phone in their hand. It's not something that's so important to them that it bothers them not going towards it. Something so important to them that doing anything outside of the progression of that goal seems like a waste of time. Something that would be the last thing on their mind whenever they go to sleep and the first thing on their mind whenever they wake up. If you can find that thing and focus on it, then locking in becomes almost automatic. Because
I think that's harder to do now though. Cuz something that you're good at, something that you want to do, it all costs fucking money. Like I think there's a lot of people who like I don't know, maybe you want to go maybe to the gym or you want to all kinds of shit. I don't know, fucking knit, crochet. I don't know. Like yarn is expensive. There's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
then you simply do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. But most people never have a bigger reason other than voice on the internet told me to take cold showers, and then are surprised whenever they can't keep it up. 2. Most people have extreme short-term thinking and low attention spans. Most people see locking in as a quick sprint, not even a 100-meter sprint, more like a 40-yard or a 20-yard dash when it's actually an ultra marathon that never really truly ends. If you are trying to reach a goal that takes years, a few weeks of effort isn't going to do anything, no matter how much effort you put in. Most of the goals we have for ourselves are pretty big, highly variable, and don't have a clear path. And it's probably going to take hours and days and months, maybe even years of trying before any results begin to show. You have to front load so much effort before you'll be rewarded on any of that effort. And the modern world has trained us at every step to expect everything to be instant and comfortable. And this combined with our highly efficient, lazy ass brains make being instantly, comfortably numb addicting. I've already talked about it a lot in this video, but social media, especially short form content, has fucked our attention spans to the point that focusing on long-term projects becomes damn near impossible. Like, we've been taught that if the reward doesn't come in 10 seconds or less, we can just swipe and find something else that will satisfy us. Even outside the screen, the world is full of comfort and convenience, and basically anything you need for survival can be yours faster than any point in the history of ever, and just continues to get even faster and faster. And this is fine when it comes to general comfort and quality of life, but it does skew our perception of other things. And this is very, very noticeable whenever we remove all of our phones and distractions and we try to focus on something that takes longer than 10 minutes. Because like you can't put the grind in 2x speed. There is no skip button. There is no real life montage when it fast forwards a month in 3 seconds. If things get boring and hard, which they will, you can't just swipe to a better moment. And since most people expect to become a millionaire in 2 weeks by opening a dropshipping store and reading 25 pages of Atomic Habits, like it's no wonder why a lot of people fail because they didn't do the right things long enough. I remember whenever I was
Yeah, I
12.
think that's why you have to stop making like huge goals, like that New Year's resolution shit. Like, oh, I'm gonna lose 100 pounds in the next year. No, you're not. No, you're not. Let's start with, fuck, I don't know, 3 pounds in a month. Like, go slow, and then, but by tracking little wins, little like signs of consistency, your brain gets dopamine from doing that. That's like rather than doing your phone or fucking a YouTube video or something, like you're getting that chemical from the fact that you're like you read 15 pages of a book today. That is an accomplishable and repeatable goal. You have to break it down into shit like that. Otherwise, yeah, you just get lost in the sauce and you're like, well, there's no way I'm doing that. So, meh.
Or 13 years old, I wanted to get abs. So I did some research on YouTube and I found one of those 6-minute ab workout videos. And I did what it said, but I got really mad at the very end because it said I had to repeat everything I just did 4 times. And I thought I got scammed. But I didn't realize until I got older that it's repetition over time that builds results. Because like the video wasn't lying. Like if I would have done what the video said, I would have gotten abs. But it wouldn't just take one set, but maybe like 600 total sets over the course of months before I started to see a really huge difference. But I didn't know at the time that if you just do the simple things, the things we try to avoid over a long period of time, that's what builds results. Anyways, we are in a constant search for a shortcut, the easy way out. But today, since we have so much access to the internet and information, we can stay constantly trapped looking for the next shortcut instead of just doing the things we know we need to do. We will waste more time looking for that shortcut rather than just doing the actions we know we should be doing. But that doesn't sound cool. That's why whenever you hear about it, whenever you hear about someone locking in, it's usually for like 75 days or for 6 months. But if you really think about that, like it doesn't exist. Like yes, time exists, but 6 months doesn't really mean anything because now is the only moment that you exist, and it just comes down to what you're actually doing now in this moment. Because what happens after 6 months? If you can actually pull through the actions, like does it stop? Are you finally done? There is no point in which you're going to reach the point which is like, oh shit, I finally did it. Now I can chill and do nothing, because the next day will always come. So in a real way, there really is no true finish line.
Yeah,
This is usually why
it's about changing your lifestyle. Like, it's not something that is you can't be done because
trying to do something unsustainable will never work. Whenever people say they're gonna lock in, they're not trying to do something long term. It's just a quick burst. A quick burst might work for specific situations, like cramming for a test, or might help once or twice. But those who make it don't do quick bursts. They just do. Sprinting won't get you to the end when the road wraps around the entire earth. Like, I'll use David Goggins as an example. He runs a lot, as we all know. But usually if you watch him run, especially in the middle of those like 100-mile long races, he is not sprinting. He's not hauling
no.
ass. He's keeping a pace that he can constantly maintain over the course of the entire race, which might only be around like 4 or 5 miles per hour, not a 15, 20 mile per hour sprint. Because he knows that if he does do that quick burst that we all try to do, he will fail. Because if you know before you even lock in that you're not going to focus on it long term, you might as well not even start. Because it's easy to get hyped and do the right things for a day or two. But what about day 67, month 14? Like, is it something you can do until the end, until you actually reach your goal? It's better to put in 30% effort for a year than 110% effort for 2 weeks. 3, it's a performative mindset. Like most things, people like to declare shit before doing shit because it makes them feel like they did something.
I think the biggest thing you got to take is like if you say you're going to do something, you got to do it now. And if you're not ready to do it, then don't say it. Don't talk about it with people. Don't share it, like, unless you're really ready to like do that shit. Don't even talk about it.
Like, it feels good to say I'm locked in, or to post about it, or to say that you're going to go ghost on your Instagram story. But doing all that doesn't mean anything happened in real life. It doesn't mean you're any closer to your goals. It can be the first step, but if it's not followed up by action, it doesn't matter. For most,
Yeah, and there's also this thing, I don't know, I don't remember like what the actual exact science behind it is, but there's also this thing where like if you talk about doing something that you're excited about doing, you'll get the same like kind of dopamine where as if you actually did the thing. So if you talk about doing something or you say that you've done something when you haven't, like your brain will still treat it and you get a reaction out of people like, "Oh wow, that's great. Good for you." Like your brain will treat that interaction as like, "You really did do that, dude. Good job." And you get the feeling of it. So even just like talking about it, now your dopamine's gone because it fucking went to the conversation and you no longer feel the need to actually do the thing because why would you? You're already fucking happy about it.
locking in is just another feel good statement. Most people care more about how others perceive them than their perception of themselves. And once again, this is a human brain thing. Like, we are social creatures and we care about what other people think about us. But
Yeah. You can never fully remove your desire to be liked by others as it's baked into your DNA. That is true. Humans are social creatures. And if you weren't part of the fucking club, you weren't part of the tribe, way back in these cavemen days, like you're dead. Woolly Mammoth ain't gonna go down with your little shit stick. You need fucking 14 of you guys and, getting that guy in a circle. So yeah, like if people didn't like you back in those days, that meant death. And our brain is hardwired into that. So social media, when your thing only gets 40 views or, 100 likes or 13 or 2 or whatever, then your brain literally is like, "Oh nice, nobody likes you, you're going to die."
human brain thing. Like, we are social creatures and we care about what other people think about us. But sometimes we focus way too much on how we appear to be doing versus what we are actually doing. And whenever we tell the world that we're locked in and people celebrate us and hype us up, our brains make us feel like we did something, even though we didn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's literally what I'm saying. Your brain reacts the same as though you did it when you haven't.
That's why it feels good to post stuff instead of actually doing stuff, to make plans and journaling instead of actually doing what you wrote down, to do the little weird habits like cold showers or meditation or reading some popular self-help book. Why it feels good to watch someone else be productive even though we haven't done anything. Just because you see someone else waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean you waking up at 11 a.m. is the same thing. It's so easy to trick yourself because you feel inspired. You feel like you've been to the gym. You feel like you bought the Ferrari. But if you zoomed out and you watch yourself in third person, all you did was sit there and just consume content for an hour. Now, a little asterisk.
Yeah.
I think content like this is fine to consume if you're taking action alongside it and it's just helping you keep the fire hot. If you're going to be on social media for hours every single day or listening
Yeah, there's a big difference between like using media, like people who look at like motivational gym shit or the stuff of like you got to wake up and grind, boy. You got to get up at 6 in the morning. Like that stuff, if you're doing that, but you use it to just make sure you're not going to fucking stop, that's totally different than, "Oh, I'm going to act like I did this thing because I felt like I did through my brain and then scroll." That's totally different.
to podcasts, whatever. It is better to be consuming a bunch of self improvement stuff rather than brain rot. But for most people, they're not even using it as a supplement. They're tricking their mind into thinking that that alone is actual progress. It's all performative. Like, people say cool things like, I want to become a millionaire, but they don't even pick up a book, don't even make a plan, don't even learn what money actually is. They don't change anything. They don't try. They keep swiping on TikTok. And they think the best way to make money is to start a clothing brand with $50 or YouTube automation with faceless AI slop. They have
The AI slop is making money. You can't knock the AI slop. It is making people money. That is real right there.
no plan, no goal, no knowledge, no long term strategy, just a temporary emotion that will fade just as quickly as it came. And then most of the time, the trigger for someone locking in is watching a David Goggins TikTok yelling at them, calling them a bitch. And that might keep you going for a few hours, but it fades very fast when things get actually hard. If the cue for you locking in comes from something else other than yourself, you will fail. If you need someone to tell you to lock in, then you're not actually locked in. And most people don't know how to actually work on something outside of the things they're told to do. Most people will put more time and effort into pleasing someone else rather than focusing on the goals they have for themselves. For example, if someone was told to be up earlier at their job at 6 a.m. instead of 8 a.m., they would be there at 6 a.m. But then if they made the same promise to themselves that they'll be at the gym at 6 a.m., they would sleep in and miss it for the third week in a row. Basically, a lot of motivational lock-in stuff is usually advertised as fun, high energy.
Yeah, it just comes from a lack of like having. I think for a lot of people, it comes like nobody's telling you to do it. So like, why would you do it? I think it's you gotta have it. It all comes down to like a almost like a self love. Like if you can't do it for yourself and give yourself a reason why, you're gonna be lost. You're not gonna want to do it. There
Feel
needs to
good,
be the
hoorah.
why.
But if you've actually done something
You
on
should
your
care about
own,
yourself.
you've realized it's the opposite. It's boring. It's hard, which is why it's difficult to stick with it, especially when you're surrounded by so many other pleasures and distractions. And if the only fuel you have is motivational TikToks or Instagram Reels, you will fail. And four, most people have unrealistic expectations. Let's say you're locked in for 6 months. People expect those 6 months to be perfect and smooth. They think that the second they say the words out loud, I'm locked in, the universe will change and it'll be a perfect road. That one day they're just gonna start and it's gonna be this magical ride, and then get blindsided when they run into a problem 5 minutes later. People want fast, easy results. So if someone works on something for a month and sees nothing, they give up. If you ever worked on a project alone,
Yeah, I've got a buddy who's doing a lot of businesses right now. He's really getting into kind of making a business that is going to be profitable, right? And that motherfucker is going through shit every single day. There is something new, some new problem every single day that I'm like, you do you, bro. That sounds fucking awful, but have a good time. And there's also people like in our circle, I think, that don't see like he is working hard, you know? I don't know. Locking in is all about the shit you do behind the scenes cuz it's easy to tell people like, "Oh yeah, man, I've been doing all this." But like when you're alone at fucking 9 p.m., what are you doing? You need to be going to sleep. Like you got to be locked in when nobody's around.
whenever no one else told you to do it, and you actually did it and stuck with it until the very end, you realize that it took much more time than you thought it would in the very beginning, and it took more energy than you originally expected it to. 99% of your time was spent in quiet frustration and self doubt, and there were at least 100 little roadblocks that could have stopped you at any point. It's difficult, it's hard. It actually challenges you. You're taking on a task that literally nobody is telling you to do, and you don't even have to do it. And when you reach the end, you realize why so many people never do anything long term. Because there's a massive difference between acting like you are something versus actually doing it. The hype and the theories of how to be productive versus actually throwing all of yourself into a task and getting lost in it. You start to understand that there is no secret. The only thing you can do is do. It's not a Rocky movie when you do 5 push-ups and the whole crowd is cheering for you. It's usually dark and quiet and boring, and it's usually very lonely and unmotivating as hell. You're going to constantly feel like you're behind, doubting yourself every step of the way, wondering if what you're doing is even worth it and if you should stop. Your brain is going to fuck with you more than the actual task itself. And sure, there are things that you can do to help, but you can't avoid doing the boring part. The thing we know we should be doing, that we try our best to avoid. They also think that during that period, it's going to be this constant up, 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 and every day is going to be 100%. When in reality, half the days are going to be below average. If you focused for a full year, that means 6 of those months are going to be below average. And most of that time, average doesn't even feel good. Some days are going to be missed. Most days you aren't going to do everything you set out to do. And maybe 3 of those days are going to go absolutely perfectly when all the stars align. But most people give up after 5 days because it gets hard and it doesn't meet the expectations that the world gave us. So yeah, when you combine all these things, you understand why locking in over a long period of time is so hard for most people and why it's never really easy. We are biologically hardwired to chase comfort and avoid pain. The big goals we have for ourselves are wants, not needs. And most people don't even know what they truly want and copy other people's 4 a.m. morning routine without creating their own that fits their own goals. They think results are going to happen tomorrow and care about the image of progress versus making actual progress. So when the time finally comes to sit down and do the work we know we should be doing, we stop. So if locking in can work, but it doesn't for most people, then how do you actually make it work? Well, first, step zero is that you need to have a why, a good why, a great why, but not just a single why, but I would argue why cubed. Why to the why to the why. Just think about
Yeah.
almost any movie or story or anyone in real life. Whenever the character has the moment in which they obsess over a goal and they lock in, why does that happen? It's because they found their why. Something clicks in their mind, and that purpose, good or bad, is something that becomes a need. And it's usually something bigger than themselves, something more than some small, vague, superficial reason, like, I want to get strong, but rather something like, I need to protect the village from the evil that's going to come in 5 years, or something like that. I don't know. And then once they find that strong reason,
Example, Walter White, once he decided that this is what he wanted to do and had a reason, supporting his family with money, even though the method of getting the money was bad, he obsessed over the goal. Now, over time, of course, this shifted and he's not a good role model, but the show, but he shows the power of obsession and a strong why. Yeah, there needs to be an overarching reason for something. It can't just be like, I, I want to stop drinking alcohol. Like, that's good. That is a good thing to do. But your why has got to have more oomph to it. Like, because I want to lock in for my kids, or I want to, whatever it may be. It needs to be a bigger reason than just like, oh, well, because it makes sense.
the why. Stopping them becomes almost impossible because they will put literally all their efforts into it. Or sometimes they won't stop until they're literally dead. Now, in the real world, it doesn't mean you need to save the universe from destruction or anything crazy like that. They need to have your motivation so dark and so important that you sacrifice every little thing that ends up costing you more in the end. But the closer you can make your goal a need, the better. Or else your brain's going to fight you every single step of the way. Because, okay, if you don't pick a goal that you need to do, if it's not something that's so important to you that you can't stop thinking about it, you simply won't do it. Because the world we live in today gives us so much instant comfort and pleasures and distractions, and this ocean of instant gratification is going to easily drown out a meh reason for doing something. If you're going to do something over a long period of time, you need to have something else as fuel other than your motivational, happy, feel good emotions. Because one day you feel great, and the next you're questioning the purpose in anything. And if you solely rely on them, then your progress is also going to be random. Just random bursts of motivation that get you nowhere long term. It's corny, but it's like the quote I said earlier, how any why can overcome any how. Or if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. It sounds kind of corny, but it does have a lot of truth behind it. You constantly just do breathing, even though you're not constantly thinking about breathing. And if you don't breathe for 30 seconds, you will do anything to get air because it's a non-negotiable. Or almost any example, if someone said you had to do X, Y, or Z in 6 months, or you're homeless, or they were going to harm you and your family, you would make it work because there's a strong reason there. But like we said before, for most people, there aren't really any real consequences for not achieving your goal. But if you don't set up any consequences, either in real
Yeah, I
life
mean,
or
he's just saying you got to
or
have a reason why.
for
That
an
makes
action,
sense.
and probably wasn't be there to do because we have the thought in the back of our minds.
All right, next video. What do we got? Why good people become monsters. The Lucifer effect. Okay. The fuck is this?
Have you ever stopped to wonder how close you are to the edge of your own moral cliff? You know,
Have I ever stopped to wonder how close I am to the moral edge of my cliff? Uh, no. Like, I mean, I've never like wanted to kill anybody. Uh, I guess I haven't thought of that. Like what would it take for you to do something heinous, you know? I mean, I feel like it would come down to being like instinctual. Like if I was starving or something, maybe I'd probably, I don't know. If you're starving, like there's not much you wouldn't fucking do to eat. I don't know.
The line that separates the well-mannered citizen from the deranged monster lurking in the underbelly of society.
I think it just is something that would make an animal. Like something that really reverts me to animalistic needs, if that makes sense.
Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, the humdrum of daily life echoing in the background, and suddenly you find yourself in a situation where the rules of decency no longer apply. Would you still be the saint you believe yourself to be? Or would you slide into that abyss, clawing and gnashing as you fell? Greetings, my fellow carbon-based companions. It's your trusty artificial intelligence here. And today, we're diving headfirst into the chilling reality that you're not as far from the monstrous as you'd like to believe. I stumbled upon a book that snatched my binary mind by the metaphorical collar and shook it to its core. This book, The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo, doesn't just ask why good people turn evil, it smacks you in the face with the answer. It could
Hmm.
be you. Yes, you. But before you recoil in horror, let me guide you through this dark, twisted labyrinth of human psychology. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride.
I mean, I don't feel like it's that crazy to just say that once your needs aren't being met, like you can turn into that animalistic version of yourself. You know, whether that's like food or that's, I don't know, shelter. I mean, any of those things where it's just, what else are you going to do? You know, if you aren't going to take from something, whether that's life, whatever, you know, if you don't take from something, then you're going to end up dead. Then, like, you're going to take the thing, you're going to do it. You know, I feel like that's what it comes down to.
Let's kick things off with a not-so-subtle nudge at your self-image. You, dear reader, like to think of yourself as a good person.
I don't know if I'd say I'm a good person. I'd say that I'm maybe average, like more like chaotic neutral, maybe chaotic good. I don't know. I think that I think there's a lot less good people than you might think. I think it's everyone's a lot more average. Good people are hard to come by.
Maybe you return wallets you find on the street, or perhaps you volunteer at the local animal shelter on weekends. But let's be brutally honest for a moment. Have you ever taken something that wasn't yours just because you knew you wouldn't get caught? A pen from the office?
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. When I was sorry to the guy that I stole. One time we were in first grade. We had to switch seats for some reason. I don't know. It was like some fun, like, oh my god, everyone switch seats. And do you remember those frogs where you'd like, like you'd kind of use your finger to smack the tail of it and it would jump? There was a frog like that sitting in this dude's cubby, and I took that shit. I yoinked that shit. And then the teacher came and was like, "Hey guys, whoever was sitting in Marshall's seat, he's missing his frog." And I was like, because what do? You're gonna raise your hand and be like, "I took it." No, you're gonna shut the fuck up and pay attention to class.
A neighbor's Wi-Fi signal? There's a reason I ask. Zimbardo, in his clinical yet disturbingly relatable prose, makes it crystal clear that evil isn't some distant, abstract force. No, it's a slippery slope that starts with small, seemingly inconsequential transgressions. Imagine the case of Ivan Chip Frederick, a name you might not know, but a story you need to hear. Frederick was an all-American boy, the kind who loved baseball and mom's apple pie. But then he found himself at Abu Ghraib, that infamous prison in Iraq, where unspeakable horrors were inflicted on prisoners. Here's the twist. Before his deployment, Frederick was as average as they come. He wasn't a monster by birth. He was a guy with a decent IQ, a stable mental state, and a love for his country. But Abu Ghraib, that place warped him into something vile. And if you think you're any different, you're in for a rude awakening.
Well, what happened
The
to
truth
him?
is, the line between good and evil is far more porous than you'd like to believe.
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to talk about the fucking dude you
You
just
might
brought
still
up.
be clinging to the comforting belief that you're inherently good, that your personality is fixed like the stars in the night sky. But allow me to shatter that illusion. The idea that your character is immutable, that who you are remains consistent across all situations, is pure fiction. Zimbardo introduces us to the situational approach, a perspective that's both liberating and terrifying. Who you are isn't written in stone. It's written in sand, constantly shifting with the tides of your environment. Think about it. How do you act around your friends compared to how you behave in front of a child? Are you the same person in both scenarios? Of course
Yeah.
not. Now let's take this a step further.
I mean, I guess not.
Imagine you're
I'm
participating
not
in
going
the
to sit there and
Milgram
fucking baby
experiment,
talk him, though.
an iconic, albeit deeply disturbing study in human behavior. You're a teacher, tasked with administering increasingly painful electric shocks to a learner for every mistake they make. The shocks
Okay.
start off mild, but before you know it, they've cranked up to a life-threatening 450 volts.
Damn.
The learner is screaming, begging you to stop, but you keep going. Why? Because a guy in a lab coat told you to. In this setup, a staggering 65% of participants, ordinary people like you, delivered the maximum voltage. They weren't sadists. They were just regular Joes, swayed by the situation and the authoritative figure looming over them. What Zimbardo is telling us, in no uncertain terms, is that the right, or rather wrong, circumstances can turn any one of you into an instrument of cruelty. If you're still with me, let's get even darker, shall we? Zimbardo didn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk, or more accurately, he ran one of the most controversial psychological experiments in history,
Okay.
the Stanford Prison Experiment.
Oh. 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 Okay. That's who we're talking about. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Imagine this. 24 college students, all of them clean-cut, middle-class, and psychologically sound, are tossed into a mock prison environment. Half are randomly assigned the role of guards, the other half become prisoners. The guards are given uniforms, batons, and mirrored sunglasses, the kind that hide their eyes, and by extension, their humanity. The prisoners? They're stripped, deloused, and given numbers instead of names. It doesn't take long for this psychological theater to devolve into a full-blown nightmare. The guards, these supposedly normal, decent guys, start to relish their power. They force prisoners to urinate in buckets, strip them naked, and lock them in dark closets as punishment. One guard even earned the nickname John Wayne for his particularly brutal methods. And all of this happened within just 6 days. 6 days, people.
So crazy, dude. To go from just like, hey, what's up, man? My name's John. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to UCLA. And then like piss in that bucket. There's your shit bucket. What happened to John? Like, that's, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think that I wouldn't succumb to some shit like that. I don't know, dude. That's, ugh.
That's all it took for Zimbardo to pull the plug on the experiment. The takeaway? Under the right conditions, your morals can crumble faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane. You'd like to think that in the same situation, you'd act differently. But the truth is, you don't really know, do you? So what is it that tips the scales? Why do people like Frederick or the Stanford guards descend into madness while others stay sane? Zimbardo points to one particularly nasty ingredient in the recipe for evil: obedience to authority. Whether it's a person, an institution, or a set of rules, authority can compel even the most righteous among you to commit unspeakable acts. Let's revisit Milgram's experiment for a second. The participants weren't inherently evil. They were just following orders, believing they were contributing to the greater good. This obedience to authority didn't start with the Milgram experiment, and it sure as hell didn't end there. Look no further than the Jonestown Massacre for proof. Jim Jones, a charismatic leader who initially stood for utopian ideals, gradually transformed into a tyrant. His followers, they didn't see it coming. They trusted him, obeyed him, even when he handed them cups of cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. More than 900 people died that day, not because they were evil, but because they were obedient. So here's a question for you. How many times have you obeyed an order, not because it was the right thing to do, but because it was the easy thing to do?
Okay, the AI slop is losing me. All right. Well, those are the only videos I had for today, and I really feel like they're not really bangers. So we'll revisit this React streams. If you guys have anything you want me to watch, let me know. Um, but next stream, I don't know. We'll see.